Alright, maybe I'll get it right this time. This is take number 5. And it's 4:15 in the morning now. And it's 8/7/2018. Looking at the Pharisees' attitude. The 7 woes of Matthew. This is woe number 3. Let's dig in deeper. Woe to you, blind guides, who say, if anyone swears by the temple, it is nothing, but if anyone swears by the gold in the temple, he is bound by his oath. You blind fools! For which is greater, the gold or the temple that has made the gold sacred? And you say, if anyone swears by the altar, it is nothing, but if anyone swears by the gift on the altar, he is bound by his oath. You blind men, for which is greater, the gift or the altar that makes the gift sacred? So whoever swears by the altar swears by it and by everything on it. And whoever swears by the temple swears by it and by him who dwells in it. And whoever swears by heaven swears by the throne of God and by him who sits upon it. Woe to you, blind guides, blind fools, and blind men. I once attended a church, and in order to be a member of that church, you had to sign a piece of paper that said you do this or that. And basically, you're taking an oath. And I never signed the paper because of the verbiage in it. It didn't keep me from attending the church, but it did keep me from having a say in the governing of the church. I currently, and probably will until the day I die, attend a church that I was accepted as a member, voted in by the congregation, if I remember correctly. Growing up, I attended a church that in some ways was pretty legalistic, in other ways not so much. But being a member only meant you professed Christ and you attended that church regularly. What were the blind guides doing? Making the people swear by things on the altar or in the temple? They were overlooking the higher principles of the law. In Matthew 5:33-37. Not to swear falsely. Do not take an oath at all. Yes or no, anything more than that comes from evil. Here's what James has to say about oaths. James 5:12. But above all, my brothers, do not swear or take an oath, either by heaven or by earth or by other oath, but let your yes be yes and your no be no, so that you may not fall under condemnation. So, let your yes be yes and your no be no. Don't swear by things that are, you're not supposed to take an oath, basically. Woe number 4, digging deeper. Woe to you, scribes and Pharisees, you hypocrites. And it's multiple times Jesus calls these scribes and Pharisees hypocrites. For you tithe mint and dill and cumin, and have neglected the weightier matters of the law, justice and mercy and faithfulness. These you ought to have done without neglecting the others. You blind guides, straining out a gnat and swallowing a camel. I think Micah 6:8 speaks to verse 23. Micah 6:8. He has told you, O man, what is good and what does the Lord require of you, but to do justice and loving kindness. There's a footnote there, and to walk humbly with your God. And there's a footnote there after kindness. The footnote states that, or steadfast love. What does the Lord require of you, but to do justice and to have steadfast love and walk humbly with your God. They, the scribes and Pharisees, were doing the little things but neglecting the more important things, like justice, steadfast love, and walking humbly with God. It would appear at this point that they did things that were with the wrong motivation, with a look at me, see how religious I am, instead of truly directing the people to God. They were religious, not relational. They were religious, not relational. Do you have an attitude like this? Like the Pharisees of being religious and not relational? Do you do things within the church? People say, hey, look at me, look how religious I am, without developing that relation with Christ? They were religious, not relational. Woe number 5, digging deeper. Woe to you blind scribes and Pharisees, hypocrites! For you clean the outside of the cup and the plate, but inside they are full of greed and self-indulgence. You blind Pharisees, first clean the inside of the cup and the plate, that the outside also may be clean. The NASB in verse 25 puts it this way, but inside they are full of robbery and self-indulgence. King James, same verse, but within they are full of extortion and excess. New King James, but inside they are full of extortion and self-indulgence. Footnote there, some texts read unrighteousness instead of self-indulgence, unrighteousness. Once again, the Pharisees are called hypocrites. Why? They look good on the outside, but inside they are full of greed and self-indulgence. I looked up the Greek word for greedy. Greedy is, and I'm not going to try and say the word, extortion, robbery. You hear that? Extortion, robbery. I think the meaning of the word is better represented in the translation noted above than how the ESV puts it. I use the ESV as my primary translation to study with, but the use of greedy is weak compared to extortion and robbery. The Pharisees were manipulating the people for their own self-indulgence to benefit them and not the people, whom they were supposed to be teaching and guiding and encouraging. They didn't have a clean heart. Matthew 15:18-19 puts it this way. But what comes out of the mouth proceeds from the heart, and this defiles a person. For out of the heart comes evil thoughts, murder, adultery, sexual immorality, theft, false witness, slander. The Pharisees and the scribes have a heart issue. Their desires aren't of God. They are for themselves, not for the people, but for their own self-indulgence. The scribes and Pharisees have become corrupt like many people in the United States Congress and House. Do you have a Pharisee-type attitude? Do you do things because they make you look good, or manipulate others to make you look good? Yet on the inside, you're a broken man. Okay, that's going to end part 2 of the 7 woes. And do you do things on the outside? Say, hey, look at me. Do you do things with the wrong motivation? Do you do things that don't show justice, mercy, and faithfulness? May you think about that a little bit and just see, are you being religious or are you being relational? I hope you enjoyed this video, short as it is, and may God bless.